assume she's coming. I saw her mother at the mall today. And she was like, oh, I'll see you at the next meeting. I'm like, that would be tonight. She's like, oh.
I don't know. I haven't seen the score. I haven't seen the score. Do you know?
Is everybody ready? Yes. Okay. Here we go. Okay. We're good to go. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975 announcement, I wish to announce that the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the School District of the Chatham's Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Board Administrative Offices, sent to the clerks of Chatham Borough and Chatham Township, the Library of the Chathams, the Chatham Courier, the Daily Record, the Star Ledger, and TAP Online News. Mr. DeQuilla?
Here. Here. Here.
Here. Here, if you said my name.
Here.
Can't hear.
Here. Perfect, thank you. Okay, if you are able to stand, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is to my left. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, okay, it was like an echo. Okay. There you have it. Okay. I do not have any additional comments at this time. We could move on to the administrative reports. Superintendent's report, Dr. Sortino.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I just wanted to give a quick update about the reconfiguration. We've continued to have a very successful transition for students and staff to both Lafayette and the middle school. Exciting news, the playground at CMS has fully begun construction. We anticipate it'll be finished shortly. Thank you again to the CMS PTO. Lafayette had their grade level field trips to Jeff Lake. The pictures were wonderful. The kids had a great time, and thank you to Mrs. Russo and the Lafayette PTO for sponsoring. Cougar Weekend was this past weekend. It was a huge success. Congratulations to all of our athletes. Back to school nights continue to go incredibly well. So far, we've had Lafayette, Washington, Milton, and Southern. Both CMS and CHS will be held this week. And finally, we will have Dr. Rosenthal and Mrs. DeSantis review the wellness survey results. That's a survey that was given to students in February of 2025. We've been giving a version of this survey for many years throughout the district, and the information gleaned from the survey results from students help to guide our programming throughout the school year for students in grades 6 through 12. So Mrs. DeSantis and Dr. Rosenthal, please come on up, and if the board could please take a seat in the crowd.
Out there.
Yes.
I thought she said stay seated.
Hi, everyone. My name's Kate DeSantis. I'm the Supervisor of Student Health and Well-Being.
Good evening, Dr. Blair Rosenthal, Assistant Superintendent for Student Support Services.
Tonight, we're going to review the Student Well-Being Check-In for September 2025. This is based on, as Dr. Sortino mentioned, the wellness survey that was administered to students earlier this year in February of 2025. A big thank you to Mrs. Mandela, who's our district SAC. She really played a huge part in this. To begin, we're going to go through some nationwide data on youth mental health and well-being, followed by our very own student wellness survey data with comparisons to 2023 survey data. We have key takeaways, and then we'll finish up with our own programs and support for students and staff in the district. Nationwide data on youth mental health and well-being. So these numbers are startling for seeing them, but they're very important to review. Nationwide, nearly 1 in 5 children ages 3 through 17 are diagnosed with a mental, emotional, or behavioral health condition. Among adolescents ages 12 through 17 in the United States, 20 reported symptoms of anxiety in the past 2 weeks, and 18% reported symptoms of depression in the past 2 weeks. Among U.S. high school students, 40% reported persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness in the past year. 20%, which is a very large percent, reported seriously considering attempting suicide. 16% reported making a suicide plan in the past year, and 9% reported attempting suicide in the past year. And these are among students 14 through 18. So the why. Why do we do this wellness survey every few years? The work schools do to promote student mental health and well-being helps them achieve their educational mission. Poor mental health can interfere with students' ability to learn and can affect classroom behavior, school engagement, and peer relationships. So the short of it, if our students aren't feeling well mentally, physically, emotionally, they're unable to achieve. Protective factors. So protective factors are the things that really help our students, and these are things that we like to ensure that our students have or that we're helping them attain. 58% of students report that they receive social and emotional support, whether from school, home, peers. 66% receive parent support a lot of the time, and 79% report that they have at least one adult in their life who makes a positive difference. And this last part here, the having at least one adult in their life, is something that we added to our wellness survey this year. There are risk factors for students, for youth, for adults as well. Risk factors for suicide and depression, individual factors such as previous suicide attempts, mental health conditions such as depression, social isolation, substance use, adverse childhood experiences, which are also called ACEs, bullying, family or peer conflict, And of course, there are community or societal factors such as barriers to healthcare, stigma associated with mental health or help seeking, access to lethal means, systemic trauma, or marginalizing experiences based on socioeconomic factors, race and ethnicity, or gender and sexual identity. District data. So as Dr. Sortino said, this survey has been administered to students in grades 6 through 12 since December of 2016. It began in 2016, followed by December of 2019, then May 2021, March 2023, and most recently, February of this year. This year we had 52 questions. Mrs. Mandela worked really hard with us as a team to develop these questions and identify what's most crucial for us to focus on. Obviously, this is happening during the school day, so we wanted to make sure that we were maximizing our time and choosing questions that are really going to help us drive programs here in the district. We had 1,590 responses this February, compared to 1,677 responses in 2023. We only had 272 students opt out, 135 being at CHS and 137 at CMS. This year, we focused on a continued study of stress and how it impacts our students, sleep, of course, cell phone use, social media, and text messaging, and feelings of depression, including wanting to harm themselves or others. We also have new questions this year, including feeling connected to adults in school, which I mentioned earlier as a major protective factor for students, types of stress and the coping strategies that our students are most often accessing, the use of caffeine and other substances to stay awake, betting and gambling habits, and lastly, harassment, intimidation, and bullying via social media.
Thank you, Ms. DeSantis. So now we're going to get into some of the actual data based on the survey results. And then at the end of all the data sharing, we'll talk about some important takeaways from the data overall. So first was a new question this year. Do you feel connected to teachers or adults in your school? As Ms. DeSantis referenced, for a protective factor. And so the takeaway of those respondents was that 87.7% of students feel connected to at least one adult at school. And if you look at the graph, there are several students who responded who felt that there was more than one adult. And that is notable because our percentage was greater than the national average, currently of 79%. When we compare stress then and now, how much stress do you experience in a typical week? You'll notice that the patterns are fairly similar, but slightly improved amounts of stress in 2025 in comparison to the data from 2023. A new question that was also added this year was how much stress do you currently have about each of the following? And we pointed out, for your reference, the 3 areas that were of note with the highest amount of stress reported, with either moderate or very high stress, which included future plans such as college and employment, academic performance such as grades, and also of note was health or other problems experienced by loved ones. So all of those had notably higher, moderate to very high stress levels in comparison to the other areas questioned. Another new question this year was to identify how you cope with stress. So students were able to pick more than one area, and the top 3 areas that were noted was finding some type of healthy distraction, exercise, and seeking out others for support, which then also goes back to the protective factor. When we compare sleep now and then, in 2023, how many hours of sleep a night did you get? On the top, it talks about during the school week, and then on the bottom, it talks about on the weekend. Students are reporting similar amounts of sleep during the school week and weekend, with a slight increase in students sleeping 9 or more hours per night. Another new question this year that Ms. DeSantis referenced earlier, how often do you use any of the following to stay awake? So areas of note was that 136 students used coffee, often or almost always. 99 students often or almost always use some type of energy drink. 171 students often or almost always use some other type of caffeinated drink, and 15 students reported caffeine pills once in a while. And we'll get to thoughts about that when Ms. DeSantis returns after we finish summarizing the data. Another new question was, how many times have you bet or gambled on something in any of the following ways? And so a large majority of students had not done this in any area, but it is notable that 603 students noted purchasing a loot box or skins in a game, and 508 students reported playing dice or cards for money or of some value. Cell phone and social media use now and then. When we look at the patterns compared from 2023, how many hours a day are you spending texting, emailing, video chatting, or socializing others? Students are reporting using their cell phones for fewer hours a day in comparison to 2023 data. Another new question this year: in the past 30 days, have you received threatening or harassing text messages from other students? So when you'll look at the students reporting on the left side, small percentage, either once or twice, a few times, or many times. Pattern is similar in terms of, in the past 30 days, have you been mocked or harassed on social media? Percentages are low, but they're still of note that there's still work to do to support our students in these areas. Another new question: when your cell phone is locked in your locker at CMS or in a classroom cell phone holder, are you able to focus better in class? And the percentages show that more than 50% of students are reporting they are better able to focus. When we look at self-esteem from 2023 to now, how positively or negatively are you feeling about yourself? Patterns are similar, percentages are similar, but less students are reporting very negative in 2025 in comparison to, even though the percentages were similar, there were more students reporting. Another new question this year: how often have you avoided food, throwing up, or use a laxative to control your weight? And so this is a percentage that requires attention, in that 20%, almost 20% of students have engaged in some type of weight control of one of those options, in some capacity. And we'll talk more about that as it relates to curricula when Ms. DeSantis continues after the data. Feelings of sadness and hopelessness, when we compare, the patterns again are similar. During the school year, have you spent more than 2 weeks in a row feeling sad or hopeless? And so the percentages are comparable from 2023 to now. Non-suicidal self-injury now and then, again, the patterns are similar. Fewer students are reporting non-suicidal self-injury in 2025 in comparison to 2023's data. Thoughts of suicide now and then. If we look at the patterns, fairly similar in terms of percentages and reporting. In the past 12 months, have you ever seriously considered attempting suicide? And so we'll talk about this in the takeaways in terms of work that we're doing to try and address this need. During the past 12 months, did you make a plan of how you would attempt suicide? Again, percentages are low, but we did have a significant number of students that we sent out for risk assessments in light of concerns with suicide. So we are hoping that we are grabbing those students within that population of 56 that reported. We'll talk about that again in an upcoming slide.
Another new question this year: if you've seriously considered harming yourself, what was the most likely reason? And this ties back to the question about stress earlier, where in the graph that identified some major reasons, most of our students indicated academic pressure as their top reason, followed by family reasons, problems with peers, problems with a relationship, and social media. So beyond the survey, it's important to remember that this survey is completely anonymous, and we had more than 1,500 students complete this. However, we do have data that points to the exact contact with students that we've had throughout the year. In the past school year, we had 121 combined risk assessments and hospitalizations of our students. 40 students required mental health clearance to return to school. We also had 21 behavior threat assessments, which are called BTAMs, and 6 students required mental health clearance to return to school. So key takeaways, because we recognize that is a lot of data. The students are reporting similar amounts of sleep during the school week and weekend, with a slight increase in students sleeping 9 or more hours per night. I know some parents might not necessarily agree. However, it is student report, and that is a positive to recognize. Students do use mostly caffeinated soda, tea, coffee, or energy drinks to assist with staying awake when necessary, although 15 have reported the use of occasional caffeine pills. In our school cafeterias at CMS and CHS, Snapple is sold, and at the high school there is coffee and iced coffee that is sold. However, I checked with the food services and we do not sell energy drinks. However, of course, students might bring their own. In regards to caffeine pills, our HPE teachers do teach healthy eating, and they do focus on sleep, of course. And this is something that they are aware of too, that we have students reporting the use of this to stay awake. As Dr. Rosenthal indicated, eating disorders appear to be increasing in grades 6 through 12 among both males and females. We had 299 students indicate that they use some sort of restriction for their eating in order to lose weight, and this is alarming. This is a very large number of students. This year we are partnering with a local facility called Montenito to provide professional development for our staff members, including HPE teachers, nurses, and counselors, to make sure that we are supporting our students as best as possible who are struggling with eating disorders or disordered eating. Students report that they use their cell phones for fewer hours each day, and more than half of students surveyed indicate that putting their phones away during the school day is helpful, which is great to see. Students report slightly improved amounts of stress, and the greatest amounts of stress come from academics, future plans, and well-beings of loved ones. Approximately 3/4 of students surveyed use healthy distractions, including exercise as coping skills when feeling significant stress, which was really, really nice to see. A lot of our students are using positive distractions that are lifelong coping skills that will help them beyond their time at CMS or CHS. Fewer students report non-suicidal self-injury, although those numbers are still there, and we want to make sure we're supporting students as much as possible. The number of students seriously considering suicide is down. However, the number of students who have identified a plan is up. However, as we said in the previous slide, we've identified, risk assessed, and sent out for clearance a greater number of students. So I'd like to think that we are catching as many as possible and helping them. Lastly, continued articulation between counselors and mental health providers is critical in identifying and supporting the needs of our students across the district. We have a lot of support for students in SDOC. We do have 18 school counselors across K-12. We have one district SAC, Mrs. Mandela, who's absolutely amazing, and we partner with Project Community Pride. We also have Tier 3, 3 Aspire clinicians, a child study team including 11 school psychologists and social workers. District-wide, we use something called Securely, which is a filter that allows Dr. Rosenthal and I to see flagged searches throughout the day and night. Whenever students search something on their school-issued Chromebooks, we are able to see whether it's a search or an email or a document of sorts that is concerning, whether we see a word such as gun or kill or something about harming self. All of these are flagged, and we follow up with every single one of them. In the elementary school, our counselors use Second Step for counseling lessons and mindfulness in pre-K through 2nd grade, and there are Calm Cougars programs in 3rd and 4th grade. We push into all of the classes. At CMS, there are programs including Cougar Mindset, Mindfulness Mondays, and monthly themed lessons including the themes of respect, gratitude, stress management, growth mindset, kindness, friendship, self-esteem, mental health awareness, and reflection. And at CHS, we recently observed 988 Day on September 8th with Project Community Pride. We have a wellness fair coming up next month. We have monthly wellness events during lunch in the R&R room. We have therapy dogs that come to those as well, which are great. We have Minding Your Mind presentations during the senior health classes, which will begin next month. We have Lifelines lessons for suicide prevention. We use the Start with Hello program for our freshmen, which is co-taught between counselors and HPE teachers, and we have the Mending Minds Club. We also have support for our staff in SDOC. We've offered professional development on trauma-informed care, which goes back to the ACEs, which are a risk factor for students. Monthly consultation professional development between our own mental health clinicians, including Aspire and our SAC, and outside agencies, because we don't like to speak in an echo chamber. We like to hear other feedback to make sure we're helping our students as much as possible. We have a scheduled Montanito presentation on eating disorders for school professionals in December. We've established and maintained relationships with outside providers for continued counseling support and, importantly, school-based clearance assessments for the 40 students that we sent out last year for further school-based clearance and the 6 for behavioral threat as well. Most of them we did send to providers that we have relationships with and contracts with. We have annual vector training for new and returning staff, suicide prevention training for staff at our annual new educator retreat, and we have CPI training, Crisis Prevention Institute training for staff on school CPI teams, including, importantly, the use of de-escalation techniques to help students regulate. And that is all we have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rosenthal and Mrs. DeSantis. I know you've worked incredibly hard both on analyzing the data, but also on providing high-quality supports and services to our students throughout the district. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Rosenthal or Mrs. DeSantis?
Quick ones. First of all, thank you for all the data and thank you for all the support services that your teams offer. I mean, our students are very fortunate to have so many eyes on our students. I'm just curious, in the protective factors, 87% feel at least connected to one adult. I'm just curious, how do you even identify the 13%? And then, how do you draw them in? I was curious about the weight loss, 20%. You classified it as an eating disorder, but one of the characters was avoid food. Like, I avoid a milkshake because I'm going to gain weight. Like, is it that, could it be skewed a little bit? Wrestlers avoid food during wrestling season. I don't know that I'd classify as an eating disorder.
I don't know. I might disagree with that.
Yeah.
I would call wrestlers having an eating disorder. You have them. I have them. They somewhat have an eating disorder.
No, that was one of my questions too, because just because you choose not to eat something unhealthy doesn't mean you have a problem.
Right.
And so in one screen, I think it said to lose weight, the other one said to manage your weight. And athletes sometimes are managing their weight by not eating sugar or not eating
A full bag of chips.
Exactly, and instead
Just a half
increasing their
bag.
protein or something. So
Yeah,
I was
I can
kind of
tell you
thinking-
that we have seen an increase in students hospitalized, both in inpatient programs and partial hospitalization programs for the management of eating disorders. We've also had situations where students have lost an incredible amount of weight during the year, and the school nurses have flagged it, communicated with families where it's been uncovered that it is a student with an eating disorder. Again, we can look at the wording of the question in the next survey that we do administer, but we thought it was an important area to explore further as it has been a trending data piece for the district.
Sure, okay, yeah, I just wanted to
Yep.
clarify that a little bit. So at the end, the original question is how do you identify, but Kate, or before you answer that, I'm just curious, Summer, did you find anything surprising in that data? Did you look at it and say, I didn't know that, or is there anything that surprised you? I'm curious from your perspective.
I feel like, the stress aspect, I feel like, honestly, not very surprising. I feel like even especially during like the winter months when you're kind of just like stuck in the school and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I get through March? How do I get through like February? Yeah, I don't really, honestly, I don't really find that stress aspect that surprising to me. I feel like it's really easy to get overwhelmed but I feel like, again, there are a lot of good like wellness fairs and stuff that the school does. So I don't know, it's not very surprising to me, no.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious how is it connecting with you folks?
Yeah.
Sorry, Kate.
No, it's fine. So the trouble with an anonymous survey is we wish we could identify every single person there. And Dr. Sortino knows when those results came out, Mrs. Mandela, me, Dr. Sortino, we were all like hemming and hawing, like, oh my gosh, I hope we know who each and every single one of these kids are. And I do think we know who a lot of them are. In terms of establishing the connections with one trusted adult, that adult could be anybody. And so at the new educator retreat, what we did this past month or a month ago is we really talked a lot about, with the new educators, building connections with your students, making your class a community so that you have the on-ramp open so that the kids can feel comfortable with who you are as a teacher, and hopefully with everyone receiving that message as a new staff and then spreading the word to others. I think we do have really great, awesome teachers who do have that on-ramp open, and it's just a matter of time for students who might even be new to the district to trust enough that we're here to support. We do have new entrants coming in all throughout the year, so I'd like to think that that small percentage might be students who just haven't taken the leap yet to trust, but we are really working on that because we want everyone to have at least one trusted adult in the building.
Okay, good point. Good point. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I have a quick question. A quick question on if you can give a little insight as to how or who writes the new questions. I think maybe a surprise was the gambling one. Maybe I'm in the dark a little bit, but if you could let us know, is there a group or a collaborative effort to come up with the new questions?
The state had surveyed students across the state in a wellness survey, and that was an area of major takeaway from the state data, that students are gambling much more frequently than they have in the past. Some of that is because of the cell phone access that they have, and Apple Pay and credit cards, they can circumvent age requirements. And so we thought it was prudent to also inquire with our students if they were utilizing gambling habits as well. There's been anecdotal information shared with us from some families that there have been some children with significant gambling habits that the parents were unaware of. They didn't notice it on their credit card right away, or their student went to college and developed a significant gambling issue. And so we wanted to see, check the temperature of where our students were. That was why that question was included.
Thanks.
I have a question. So I appreciated that academic performance was a key driver of, I believe, anxiety and stress. And part of it, I think, Summer, it was interesting, you mentioned time of year, which definitely for a high schooler ebbs and flows in terms of whenever the survey is done. I feel like we have done so much to help alleviate the anxiety around it, and I'm wondering if the counselors think that it's coming from peer pressure, because I don't really think it's teacher pressure. Is it family pressure? Like, where is that coming from? That's part one. And I know that's not on the test. And then my other question, which wasn't surveyed either, is how do we compare to other districts regarding absenteeism? Because everything I read is that it is an epidemic. And I know that there are many parents that have trouble getting their kids off to school and at every age level. And I'm wondering how these factors and these takeaways impact things like absenteeism.
The first question on the anxiety as it relates to academics, I know that our counselors work incredibly hard to create schedules with their students and their families in mind that are hopefully well balanced. When students want to waive a recommendation, so say they didn't get a recommendation for a certain course and they'd like to waive, there's a waiver window, and anytime there's a schedule change at the high school, the parent needs to sign off on it because we want to emphasize that we need to be well balanced and our mental health is important. Despite that, though, our students are incredibly high achieving, and no matter where you go, there's going to be that comparison of, I need to have this many AP classes, or I need to have this grade to get into whatever college I would like to get into, and that's something that we definitely notice is a struggle across the board. I know, speaking to counselors in other districts, that remains true. So our programming is something that we really pride ourselves on, emphasizing health and wellness, giving students a break, and making sure that they know they can access their counselors when they need to. We're here to support. We're really trying to do that to make sure that our students feel supported, but they are still going to feel some stress because they really want to do really well, and we support them as best we can.
And your chronic absenteeism question, the very effective part of our Tier 3 Aspire mental health program is that for students that are demonstrating significant school refusal, the Aspire providers will communicate with the family, provide family sessions. They also at times will visit homes to help facilitate the school reentry process. So that's something that I would say a lot of other public school districts don't have as a service for students that are demonstrating that type of refusal.
Our Aspire clinicians also worked once a month, every month last year with an outside provider who focused a lot on school phobia and school avoidance, who helped us with ideas for helping our students enter school as successfully as possible, not only just partnering with the parent, but also the families as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Claire.
Appreciate both of you and all of your efforts that went into it.
Don't feel obligated to stay, Kate.
You seriously, get home to your littles. Moving on to the business administrator's report. Mr. DeQuilla?
Sure, as Dr. Sortino said earlier, the playground company has started the construction work at the middle school, and the contractor doing the additional drainage work will also start later this week. For the HVAC replacement projects, all the units have been installed and are operational. The one holdup is the company installing all the controls, so the maintenance department can control them from their office and not have to go to the building to specifically work on each unit. That's all I have for now.
Okay, perfect. Student liaison report, Summer.
Hi, everyone. So I just have a few updates from our first few weeks of school. So obviously, the transition from the middle school to the high school is a big one and not an easy one, but I've noticed that our ninth graders have really adjusted and acclimated well. And I truly do think it is from our LINKS program at the high school, a major factor at least. Our LINKS program at the high school is a group of about 20 to 30 upperclassmen who volunteer their gym classes once a month to hold kind of lessons and just talking with the ninth graders in that same gym class. So our LINKS program held the first sessions of these lessons last week during a few gym classes. And as a LINKS leader myself, I can say that these lessons went very well and were pretty informative. It kind of just went over the basics of the high school. And I think a really key reason as to why the LINKS program is so successful is because it's not really so important exactly what we're saying, like where the cafeteria is and where all these different classrooms are, but more so creating those connections with the underclassmen and giving them kind of a friendly face in the high school. So I feel like that was really helpful. In addition to that, our activities fair was last week. This is where we have 60 plus clubs at our high school hold this activities fair in the back of the high school right by the field. And it is really a good opportunity to get our underclassmen excited about different clubs and excited about where they want to focus maybe their interest in, so they can sign up for a ton of different clubs, dip their feet in a bunch of different, waters, and figure out where they are most interested in. And this can kind of also, it gets leaders of clubs excited to kind of promote their club and get more into the school year. So that's a really great opportunity for underclassmen to kind of get more into the high school. And of course, this weekend, Dr. Sortino went over this, but we had our Cougar Weekend, which if you don't know what Cougar Weekend is, it is basically a weekend where it is our most kind of school-spirited weekend of sports at the high school. So the teams that play this weekend include girls volleyball and tennis, field hockey, girls and boys soccer, and our football team. And thankfully, they all won, which is so impressive, considering I don't think this has happened for as long as I've been at the high school. And it was awesome to get to see all of these athletes showcase their talents. The weather was awesome, considering every single year I've been at the high school, it's at least rained a little bit. So it was good to know that I could be in the stands not getting drenched. And it was really, everyone seemed to have an awesome time. Seeing our giant student section, it was just awesome. And we had our CHS marching band and cheer team do a halftime performance at the football game, which was really impressive that they got to showcase their talents during this time. And lastly, we have our senior counselor meetings coming up in these next few weeks. So this is essentially meetings where the seniors of the high school meet with each of their guidance counselors and talk about kind of post-secondary planning, and it really helps to kind of clarify where they want to go in the future and what they want to do. So it's really helpful. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Summer? Yeah. Good. So nice to see all those wins. I saw football had a huge win too, which is great. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, moving on to our committee reports for personnel. Ms. Weber?
Yes, thank you.
Sure thing.
Great, thank you, Ann. We met on September 23rd, and most of the time was spent discussing extending the security personnel at the middle school and high school, possibly an hour. I know Dr. Sortino and her staff are going to talk to the security personnel, but right now they're contracted to leave pretty much when the school day ends. But you know, when kids are getting on the bus and getting picked up, an extra hour might help everybody, keep them safe. So I know you're going to report back on that once you've had an opportunity to talk to the security personnel. But you know, everybody on the personnel committee was in agreement that, yeah, I think an extra hour at least to start at the high school and middle school would be prudent. We also talked about a healthy workplace policy, but Mr. Ryan, are you going to cover that?
We haven't met.
Okay, very good. So we touched on creating or adopting a new healthy workplace policy, pulling, you know, best practices from other districts and just ensuring that everybody in the district feels comfortable, and, you know, if they have a mechanism to report any hostile or working environment that's unsatisfactory. And the school district will not tolerate anything that is unsatisfactory, but we want to document it. And I know, Sarah, you're working on that diligently, so we look forward to hearing that and approving that through the policy committee. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. And we meet again on October 8th. Curriculum, Ms. Ross?
Yes, the curriculum committee met last Wednesday, September 10th. We had quite a lengthy meeting, so I'm going to give you some highlights. Some of the topics we discussed included an overview of the professional development days that were held in August before school began. Each building had an in-depth faculty meeting, and there was also training conducted for our early bird screener, our dyslexia screener called Early Bird, and Haggerty, which is a phonemic awareness tool. A motivational speaker was also invited back, Coach Stroker, who was very well received. The committee also had a preview of the presentation that you just watched now on the wellness survey. We received an update on the implementation of Early Bird, which I talked about in a prior meeting, but assessments for dyslexia will be conducted 3 times a year, fall, winter, and spring. A letter will go out to parents, and Dr. Audra Berger, who's spearheading it, will be making the rounds at the K-2 PTO meetings to answer questions from parents. We had a recap of the 11 new courses that were developed and finalized for the program of studies. You may recall those were approved in January of 2025, so we just went through that framework a little bit more. We had Dr. Donahue talk to us about she shared information on a pull-out gifted and talented program that is in process of being developed. The program is effectively going to be launched in January of 2026 for students in grades 3 and 4. Assessments have not been done yet to determine the candidates, but they will be administered in October. And a letter will go out to families with more information from Dr. Donahue, and she will also be presenting at the Lafayette PTO meeting in November to share more specifics. I'm going to touch on the 26-27 school calendar. Here we're proposing that there are 2 professional development days instead of 3 in August, so that we have another in October, and then proposing to move 1 to March so that it's just consistent throughout the year. The plan for this October's Professional Development Day is to guide the K-5 teachers on more gifted and talented instruction and several sessions on AI training. Finally, the New Jersey, the SLA results should be mailed out probably around now through the end of this month, and we'll review the results of those at the November meeting. And our next curriculum meeting will also be held on October 8th. Take a breath there. Any
Perfect.
questions? Thanks.
Anybody have any questions? No. Okay, perfect. Finance, did finance meet? No. No?
No.
Okay. And policy has not met.
Policy meeting next Wednesday, the 24th.
Okay.
My policy question is, Cougar Weekend, they announced the new spectator policy over the loudspeaker, which was super. And and maybe this isn't the spectator policy, but I think it is. Could we ask people to take their trash with them when they leave? I thought it was kind of horrific looking at the stands each night with the AD and the principal and the assistant principals cleaning up the stands when the fans couldn't. So I thought that was a little disrespectful to our own fields. So I don't know if it goes there or if it can just be announced.
Sure. We can add that to the announcement, but I agree, there was a lot of garbage everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Good catch on that, yeah, for sure. Okay, perfect. Any liaison reports?
I do not have one for Thea.
I do not.
No. Okay. Excellent. Okay. I'd like to motion to move the minutes from the public meeting in August, which I know I have to abstain from, and I don't know who else. You?
Yeah.
Susan and I? Just two of us?
I just need a second. And
I second.
okay. Minutes from August 25th. Ms. Ross,
Abstain.
Ms. Allen,
Yes.
Ms. Peck,
Yes.
Mr. Ryan,
Yes.
Ms. Weber,
Yes.
Dr. Zhang,
Yes.
and Ms. Chigarelli.
Abstain.
Minutes past 502.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay, so this is going to be, so I have to swap glasses, I can't see anything. Our first opportunity for public commentary. Hearing of the citizens during the public commentary section of the agenda is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are or are not topics scheduled for the current meeting. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers will be asked to limit their comments to a reasonable length of time. And if you could just sign in and let us know where you are from, that would be great. And your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Stone Lang, and I'm a senior from Chatham High School. I recently completed an independent research project on how K-12 educators in our district perceive the role of artificial intelligence in teaching and learning. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Dr. LaSousa for approving this project in the spring semester, Dr. Sortino for her help this year, and my AP statistics teacher, Mrs. Roethlisberger, for her mentorship throughout this process. I shared the research project with all of you, and I thought I'd give a brief overview of the findings, especially in light of your current strategic planning priorities. To conduct this study, I surveyed 71 teachers and administrators across schools and grade levels and interviewed a high school teacher for additional perspective. I analyzed the results using both statistics and clustering method from machine learning. The findings highlight 4 main points. Number 1, openness with caution. Teachers and administrators see potential for AI in tutoring, study materials, and differentiated instruction, but most feel unprepared and want more support. Number 2, ethics and equality. Respondents stressed that AI should support, but definitely not replace, student thinking. Concerns included fairness, over-reliance, and skill development. Number 3, mindsets matter more than job titles. Analysis revealed that 3 distinct groups, advocates, cautious but curious, and skeptics, showing that training should be tailored to readiness levels, not just roles. And lastly, alignment with learning theory. Many saw AI's potential to provide adaptive support consistent with the zone of proximal development, where students grow best just beyond their current level. Based on this, the district might consider a formal needs assessment, tailored professional development, and cleared guidelines for responsible use. I hope you have the chance to review the full paper, which includes both data and teacher perspectives. Thank you for your time and for supporting student voice and future-ready learning in the district.
Thank you. Yeah, can you stick around? Yes. Like, you don't, okay. I mean, not necessarily now, but we were like, I mean, I, for one, so impressed with your project. Like, I was I felt so educated from it. Like, I learned so much. It was amazing. I think it's amazing. So amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question it's our future, and I think people are nervous, but I think at the same token, it's reality, and we need to, really tackle it with the right care and the right, when you talked about different levels of, tiering the PD or whatever, I think it's brilliant. I know Ms. Weber has some things to say, too.
Yeah, right. I thought it was fantastic. I also uploaded into Notebook LM and made myself a podcast, and then I made myself a shorter podcast of just 2 minutes, so it was great. They did a great job of summarizing your work. Ann said most of it, so I'm not going to repeat anything Ann said, but the thing that stuck out at me most, and I highlighted it, was your concept of perceived preparedness. I thought that was interesting that you used the word perceived preparedness, and, the administration is all about professional development, and what's interesting is, I don't know if you know, Dr. Walker did his dissertation on self-guided or self-driven model of professional development. So it's nice here in Chatham that teachers get to pick what interests them. So this might be a topic that is going to get some traction. If one teacher can learn a particular software and, hey, this is great at creating quizzes or blah, 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 I don't know all the jargon, but I found your paper extremely interesting. And again, the perceived preparedness reminded me of Dr. Walker's dissertation and how much I think teachers appreciate the self-directed model, which ties into AI directly now. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, really impressive.
Yes, your paper was so well received and so beautifully written, and the science behind it was strong. And I have additional questions, I think we all do, that we could take offline. But my questions are what your recommendations would be as a student, and what your recommendation, you're a student, you've now done this, so you see both sides of it. So maybe afterwards we can talk about, from your perspective as a student, what you think needs to be tackled first, second, and third.
Okay, sounds good.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Beautifully well done paper.
Thank you.
It was very impressive, and you'll be very happy to know that on October 13th, we have a full day professional development experience for teachers in the district. While school is closed for students, teachers will be learning about AI and instructional uses for it. So thank you again. It was very well received, clearly, by everyone. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, amazing.
Hi, my name is Emily Smith, and I'm a freshman here at Chatham High School. Dr. Sorrentino, first off, welcome. I know you've heard a lot of this already, but I'm really excited for you to be on the Chatham Board of Education. I've been up here a lot already to talk about the ISL program, and time and again, reservations have been brought up. I'm up here hoping for a fresh start because unfortunately I feel my advocacy falls on deaf ears, but I'm hoping you can change that. Once again, I am entitled by law NJAC Section 6A, Section 8, regarding activities achieving 120 credits. Individualized student learning opportunities in all NJSLS areas include, but are not limited to, the following, and the first one listed is independent study. People also mentioned reservations about potential sexual assault. Unfortunately, it can happen anywhere, ISL or not. Not only could this be a program for academic achievement, it could be used to give students agency to speak up for themselves. The final thing that has been stressed previously is alignment with the curriculum. According to the 9th grade phys ed requirements, students should learn to compare the short and long-term benefits of physical activity and the impact on wellness associated with physical, mental, emotional fitness through one's lifetime, and design and implement a personal fitness plan using evidence and evaluate how it reflects knowledge and application of fitness, training principles, and competent skill-related fitness. And finally, develop a sense of openness and willingness when participating in physical fitness activities to share and learn. And what better way to develop a love for fitness than allowing students to enjoy their own personal interests through physical activity? The final concern was funding. I'm more than willing to pay the student activity fee many other Chatham High School athletes do, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm one of 75 students who want to make this program happen, and we can make it functional like Madison, Summit, and Ridgewood's option 2. If you have concerns, please feel free to reach out to me at my email, emilysmith@chatham-nj.org. I would love to meet one-on-one if you still have concerns, as I would feel that would be more productive in the long run. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Emily.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Corey Moss. My wife, Michaela, and I moved to Chatham in large part for its outstanding schools. And her daughter, McKenna, has already shown us why. Every day she comes home from Washington Ave, demonstrating leaps in all that she's learning. We're here tonight because our son, Cade, who turns 5 on October 20th, deserves that same opportunity to thrive. Despite turning 5 just shy of 3 weeks past the cutoff, Cade's preschool educators have documented that he has already exceeded expectations academically and socially, and waiting another year could be detrimental. I've brought their letter of recommendation with me tonight, and I can share that after I finish. We are aware of policy 5111, which currently provides no pathway to consider cases like his, even though New Jersey law leaves it up to the decision up to the local districts. Other districts, like Rumson, manage this well, using clear readiness evaluations, preschool input, brief observation, and a child study team to review. The Chatham School District prides itself on its guiding principles: equity of opportunity, evidence-based decision-making, and ensuring every child feels supported and valued. We believe that Cade deserves that same consideration. In other situations, the district has structures and supports to ensure every child gets what they need. In Cade's case, being ready just a few weeks early, there's no pathway available. That leaves us in the position of having to enroll him in a private kindergarten simply to ensure that he receives the academic experience that he deserves. And it's important to note, this is not something every family has the means and bandwidth to support, which further compounds the inequity of this situation. We're not asking for a broad policy change, only for a structured process that allows outliers like Cade's to be considered on its merits. I respectfully ask that the board refer policy 5111 to the policy committee and add such a process. And that in the meantime, Cade be evaluated against whatever interim frameworks can be developed. And this would ensure that the policy work has immediate practical application and that Cade can begin his journey in the Chatham district, rejoining his friends rather than outside of it and outside of them. Thank you for your time and your dedication to children and families of Chatham.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mandy Major from Chatham Middle School, but I'm also the CEA president. And I wanted to welcome all of you back to our school year, but also just to say that we're settling into the start of our year and to take a moment to express my appreciation for everyone's dedication and hard work. Of course, the amazing teachers of the district, but also the new administrators and Dr. Sortino, and our new principal at Chatham Middle School, Mr. Yamamoto. And we have had a lot of changes this year in our building alone at Chatham Middle School, but of course in the administrative team. And from what I've seen and heard, the collaboration between the teachers and the new administrators is off to a promising start. And that partnership, of course, is very critical to providing our students with the best learning environment possible. I believe that with Dr. Sortino's leadership, that will continue throughout the year and for the years to come. Our educators are energized and ready to meet this year's opportunities head on. And together, I am definitely confident that we can continue to build a strong, supportive, and innovative district. So thank you for all of your commitment here on the Board of Education and to our schools, and most importantly, to our students. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mrs. Major, for all that you guys are doing over there. I know it's been a lot of collaboration over there at the middle school, but it sounds like things are going well. Okay, you have a question?
Nope, I want to respond.
Go right ahead.
I'm going to go in reverse order. Thank you, Mandy, for all that you do, and thank your teachers. If we could afford it, we'd have rose petals drop at your feet every day that you walked in, or milkshakes, or whatever it would take, blizzards from Dairy Queen. But I don't know how you do what you do, but thank God you do it. I wouldn't last 30 seconds in any one of your classrooms, but thank you. I'm going to jump to Ms. Smith. I have to disagree about deaf ears. You and I have had this conversation. I've talked about it at length. Just for the new people joining the program, there's a couple of key points. First of all, the private organizations are simply not designed to meet New Jersey state curriculum, period. They just don't meet our curriculum, nor do they care, nor do they want to. It's for profit, and nobody's saying you all don't spend a ton of time at these activities. I mean, a ton of time, and we encourage you to chase your passion and be passionate about it. But that doesn't mean the school district has the opportunity to tweak our policies on programs that don't meet our standards. And the other item, which, maybe it's my personal quirk, we have no control over who these companies hire. None whatsoever. Our teachers, our coaches, our substitutes are all vetted. Our after-school programs are vetted. We have no idea who they hire. And if they send us all their employees at the beginning of the year, okay, 3 of them quit, 4 are new. Again, we have no control over who they hire. So for that point alone, I would be against it. But I just wanted to say I disagree because we've had this conversation several times. But again, those are my 2 quirks: the hiring and they're just not designed to meet our curriculum, state curriculum. It's not even ours. And then Corey, well, I'm not going to talk about your son specifically. Having been around the block a few times, I've seen over and over again the negative impacts of pushing somebody before they're ready. Again, I'm not talking about your son. He probably plays Chopin or whatever, but I know there's a reason for a cutoff. And what's the date? You missed it by 3 weeks. Okay, we move it then. And then, well, my kid's November 1st. But again, I'm not talking about your specific son, but there's a reason for it. There's also tons of private options if you think that is absolutely the best thing for, if parents think that is the be-all, end-all, top priority, there's private options that you can avail yourselves to. And the last thing that I'm considering, or in my head, just thinking about it out loud as Corey spoke, this is the first time we're offering full free-day kindergarten, so I just don't want it to be, I just don't want people to push their kids forward and at the end of the year, you know what, I'm going to hold them back and then and keep them in kindergarten one more year. I just would hate to see that snowball into kids being held back as a regular, course, just because, you know what, it's free day, let me send them. Didn't work out, I'm going to repeat it. I don't know that that's great for the student either. I'm not an educator, so I'm going to leave that up to the experts, but that's my at least response to your comments. But thank you. Thank you, Ann. Thanks, Ann.
Okay, perfect.
Are we moving regular?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
move on to the regular agenda, and there will be a second opportunity for public commentary later after the regular agenda, so we can get back to that when that time comes. Moving on to our regular agenda action items for personnel. Ms. Weber?
Great, thank you. I'd like to move items A1 through A26 on the regular agenda. There's an addition on the addendum of number 27, and there are some amendments to number 3, 7, 12, 13, 22, 24, and 25. No additional audibles, right, Sarah?
Okay. I will second.
Agenda items A1 through 26, addendum items A3, A7, A12, A13, A22, A24, A25, and A27. Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Dr. Zhang?
Yes.
And Ms. Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 7-0.
Okay, moving on to curriculum. Ms. Ross?
I think we
Finance.
missed
Oh, no.
finance.
Finance, sorry. Who wants to do finance?
I can move it.
Okay.
Like to move agenda items B1 through B8.
I second.
Agenda items B1 through B8. Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Dr. Zhang?
Yes.
And Ms. Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 7-0.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And curriculum, Ms. Ross?
Yes, I'd like to move agenda items C1 to C7. Second. Thank you.
Agenda items C1 through C7. Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Peck?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes.
Dr. Zhang?
Yes.
And Ms. Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Agenda items passed 7-0.
Perfect. Nothing for policy. Moving on to board business. Any other board business anybody wants to discuss?
Nothing.
No? Okay, all good?
Nothing for policy.
Okay, perfect. Okay, moving on to this will be our second opportunity for public commentary. Same.
Rules apply.
Policy had a big year last year, Mike. Policy had a big
Policy
year
was-
last year.
Uh-huh.
You did 3 years worth of work. All at once.
Thank you for your comments and thoughts. I appreciate, having an active dialogue. I do recognize that by and large, the studies can show that holding back can be advantageous. And it is something that my wife and I have tried to be as objective as possible about in looking at how he interacts with his friends, what he's interested at home, and how other people outside of just us perceive Cade and his keenness for education. I also want to be very clear that this isn't just, I think the cutoff should be moved. I think the cutoff can be wherever Chatham thinks it needs to be. My ask here is for having an avenue to pursue for kids like Cade who are just ready. Again, I'm not asking for this to be thrown out the window. There just should be some sort of process or evaluation where someone who is ready has the opportunity to be observed, has the opportunity to have the recommendations taken into consideration instead of just a computer says no sort of situation. And then lastly, the full day K and all that is wonderful, but that is not at all a driving factor. We want what's best for our son, and keeping him challenged and humble is a good thing. He's one of those kids that when he's not challenged, he gets distracted, he goes everywhere else. So keeping him engaged is very important for us. We're also aware of many children in the district that even though full day K is available, they're holding their kids back because they feel it's more advantageous for them to have that extra year. So I think there's an offset here, and I think also if there's an appropriate process for evaluation, it's not just an advantage-based or people taking advantage sort of situation. So yeah, I do appreciate your comments, and I just wanted to respond to them because they are things that we've, in playing devil's advocate with ourselves, recognized. Dr. Sorrentino and my wife and I had a conversation back in the spring, and we understood the policy 5111, and we said, okay, let's hold, let's wait. And then as we got closer to the school year starting and we're dropping McKenna off, it just hit that Cade needs to be joining McKenna in the Chatham School District. So that's what's reinvigorated our ask here. Thank you again for your consideration. I appreciate everything. Are there any questions, any thoughts?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening to all. Bill Heap, Chatham Borough. I will admit to you that I grew up in a different age. When I was in school, stress and nervous breakdowns were for rich people. And my father kept reminding me constantly that when I was worried about where my next meal was coming from, then we had something to discuss. So I'm astounded at the range of things that cause anxiety and depression and eating disorders and all of this kind of stuff. I will admit to you that it's foreign to me. My one wish, or maybe two wishes, is first, the cell phone was never invented and that people would get off the internet. It's way too much information for anybody to process at any one time. So at the risk of sounding like a really heartless son of a word that rhymes with witch, is there any line between what the district is responsible for and what families are responsible for when it comes to counseling and all of the related issues that go along with it when you send kids outside of the school for extra help? Is there anything there that parents are responsible for, or is this entirely on the shoulders of the district? Thanks.
Do I have to sign in again if I'm speaking? Oops. Hi again. I do feel as though there is always a solution, but I feel unfortunately there's a bit of a disconnect. Ms. Weber, I really do appreciate your feedback, but I feel as though we cannot achieve much through meetings or email and just public commentary alone. I recognize that curriculum can be an issue. Unfortunately, I've been unable to come up with a solution because I can't grasp exactly what I would be missing through a private sport versus actually doing the whole CHS stream curriculum, because I was never informed of the specifics. Safety is top, and I don't think a company should participate if they're not certified and contracts can be drawn, and I do think there always is a solution, and I really do want to make this program happen. So whatever you are willing to do, I'm willing to help. Thank you.
Emily, I think you did a great job speaking at all of the meetings. We're all very impressed. That is not easy to do. Dr. Donahue and I will email you for a meeting. We can have a conversation without the big forum about everything, okay? Okay. So that's one. Two, So, Mr. Moss, as you mentioned, you and I have spoken previously, and I'm understand your frustration. I have a son that was born in October as well, so I understand the extra year is challenging. I think it's important to note that many local districts have the same October 1st cutoff date with no policy exemption. So Milburn, Summit, New Providence, Madison, Livingston. My understanding is that almost up until this school year, Summit had an avenue for exemption for kindergarten for circumstances similar to what you're referencing, and that they ended their exemption policy because it was so challenging. I think the hard part in measuring a kindergartner's readiness to attend school is it's a very subjective situation. It also is time intensive. There's resources involved and staffing involved, and as you know, we have a fiscal responsibility to taxpayers. So for all of those reasons, the policy committee did discuss the policy at length and did not opt to change that October 1st cutoff date and the lack of an avenue for exemptions, just to provide information. It's also important to note that Governor Murphy, as you know, mandated free full-day kindergarten by 2029. That was at a significant impact to the district. We had the reconfiguration to make sure that we had space for kindergarten. So I think it's also important that staffing-wise and space-wise, we really are stringent on the October 1st cutoff date. Compulsory education laws in New Jersey are governed for students ages 6 to 16. I think that's really why it's left to local districts for the cutoff date, and it becomes a little more challenging. I know you referenced Rumson, but when we really reference the local areas, they are all in line with the October 1st cutoff date that we have. Referencing Mandy Major. Mandy, thank you for taking the time to come tonight and for the partnership of the CEA. During the transition, we have a lot of new administrators. The reconfiguration brought a huge change to the district, and having such a strong president of the union and so communicative and collaborative has been extremely helpful during the transition. So thank you for your professionalism. And Mr. Heap, you asked a question about what's a family's role versus the district's role. We look at the whole child that comes through our doors. And Mrs. DeSantis had referenced a quote from the CDC that talked about if a student's mental health and basic needs aren't being met, they really can't access their education. So for us as a district, we make sure that we are addressing the basic needs. Are kids hungry? Are they warm? Do they have school supplies? Do they have backpacks? Do they have snack? Do they have breakfast? Once those services are provided, a student can access their education, then that fundamentally is our responsibility. We absolutely do make reference to families about outside counseling, both through Project Community Pride, which is at no cost to families, and that's through a partnership with the district and the Madison Chatham Coalition. There are also services through the state, through Perform Care, Mobile Crisis, et cetera, and we refer families for those services as well. And then there are private counselors that we will also make recommendations for families to seek additional support for their children outside of school if necessary. But really, if a child's basic needs aren't being met, their academic needs are not being met either, and that's the basis of the educational process here. But it is a lot for everyone.
Okay, perfect. Do we have an executive session?
No executive session.
No executive session. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I think that with that, we will close the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Same station.